Raise your horns high and let your spirit flow. It's the classic metal wrap-up show. Feel the rush, let the loudness grow. It's the classic metal wrap-up show.
Theme, but then with him and Motley, it just seems like it's just that, but without the paint. And
basically, it doesn't quite work for me either.
That's why I was like, they should have gotten DJ Ashba, and it would have been at a hell of a deal, right? Because he wouldn't be asking that much money,
No.
Yeah.
That would be an option. There's other guys I think out there that probably could have been pulled in to do the gig and do it well, but they're clearly were looking for name as well as playing, and that's where I think they went wrong. You're Motley Crue. You don't need a name. You just need a guy that can play the guitar part and sound like Mick Mars and hold down that end of the fort. Instead, they try to go with a name, and
right.
Just don't think that was. Let's put it this way: I don't know what they did, but if there was auditions and I'm Bob Rock or whoever, fucking Alan Kovac, I don't know if John Five's on my top 5 list of guys I'm pulling in for this gig. So
yeah, I like him better as a solo artist than in Motley.
Yeah, and I'm okay with him when he was with Manson and Zombie. That's where I first saw him, and that was fine. And I'm not even really a big fan of either of those bands. I mean, I don't mind them, but I don't go out of my way. They happen to be on Ozfest or package tours or whatever, and it's caught them with other bands. And but that just seems to be the gig that suits him, in my opinion. The Crew gig, I don't know, just doesn't. You put that with Nicky USB tracks over here and Vince trying to read a fucking teleprompter, singing out a key, and then they pipe in the old Vince recording vocals. He can clearly notice that, and it's like, And then I would take, even though they probably did have a few tracks back in the day, they still let more warts show when they were at the Warfield, when they were on the Swine tour. They may have had a gang chorus here or there to help Vince, but you could still hear it being the Crew. There was points where it sounded kind of but that's the way I like my music. I'm not a perfectionist. I don't want them to be perfect. I don't need to be note perfect every time. I want live music, the energy of a live band. So that's why when you watch those shows, I'm not a huge Poison fan, but when I first watched those stadium tour, the launch, when they had Poison on there and they had was it Def Leppard? Who was the other band?
It was Def Leppard and Joan Jett.
I watched all. I was a fan in the stands, just watched some YouTube clips of each band, and I'm not a Poison fan, but when they came out, there was energy. They sounded live. They sounded like they were real, and that was better to me than I get to Leopard. I feel like, okay, it's halfway real, it's halfway tracks, because there's definitely some things going on here to help beef these songs up.
But Eddie Trunk says it's all real.
Claim. No, I don't care how much Trunk. And that's what gets me. So I'm with the CMSers and Aiken and Neely on this one. Trunk, pick a fucking position. Do you hate tracks or do you like tracks?
Well,
you
think
can't
about
sit there and say, well, Motley Crue is doing fine. They're tracked.
Right.
And I'm sorry, Def Leppard has choruses and things that are going on drum-wise, vocal-wise, and probably guitar-wise. That's not just those guys. There's extra.
Well, when you think of
I'm not saying they're not playing. I'm not saying they're not singing. I'm just saying that guy on the side of the stage with the monitor mix and the extra stuff is going, let me put a little extra vocal there and make sure that Pro Tools tracks up there on that chorus, and it's all probably synchronized on a computer and just go. So, I mean, and the reason why I say that is because I saw Def Leppard in the early 2000s and on an arena tour in Sacramento, California, the old Arco Arena. The place was only half full, but I 110% with my own eyes and ears heard and saw tracks. So I don't care what anyone says. There were choruses that could not be that full. There was parts that did not. There was definitely tracks. And so Eddie can say, well, they used them and they took them away now. Or no. They just became better at incorporating their live band with those tracks into a show. I'm not knocking them for it. I'm just saying that that's what you're seeing when you're seeing Crew and Def Leppard these days. You're not Go watch the videos. Go watch Poison on the same thing, and you can hear a difference between a live band with no tracks and a band with tracks.
Do
Because
you
there's
think
points where it sounds empty. It sounds like is CC filling enough over here?
Yeah,
Because
right.
it sounds.
Yeah.
And so that's the way they should sound.
Mhm.
That's the live 4 guys making the sound. But when you add in the extra stuff and you get on Leopard and there's all this extra stuff going on, I'm just telling you, man, there's help.
Yeah.
So
Well,
the one-armed drummer might just need an extra arm occasionally, and there might be some sequence drums in there. I'm saying,
yeah, and that I can understand.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
I
not
mean,
even knocking him. Yeah,
when
this
you
guy's
when
got a
you
physical limitation.
well, when you think of the Hysteria album, how that was just kind of pieced together over, over time, and it took months to get that thing perfected, and I
And
that
that's
that
why when I went to see him live, I knew that. In my
sure,
mind, I said, "There's no way a band's going to
right,
perform Mutt Lang produced songs live without having some assistance." Because Mutt put 87 tracks on some of these songs. So come
hmm
on, dude. There's no way you're walking in with 5 guys and 5 instruments and making that sound like 87 tracks of Pyromania and Hysteria. I don't buy it.
hmm
Now, I'm okay with it. I knew it going in. I paid the ticket price admission anyways. I saw them and whoever was opening for them, and it was fine. But you just know that they're, you know. But why my issue is, why would Eddie Trunk go, that's okay and that's okay, but this band's not okay and this band's not okay?
right,
So you're either 4 tracks or you're not 4 tracks. So, and my particular feeling is, if I have an option, I'm going to go see a live band
sure,
that doesn't use the tracks.
right,
But will I say I'm never going to see a band that has tracks? That would be a stupid thing for me to say, because I've seen the Rolling Stones in Oakland Coliseum, and I could probably guarantee you there was some extra stuff going on there too. So,
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. They were probably more discreet than some of the obvious bands, like like you were saying, Motley, the USB tracks.
Stones, yeah, Stones are old school. So they throw
Sure.
the chick vocalist on the stage, they hire the extra piano player, they bring the guy out on the saxophone solo, and I think those things are real. I think there could be some extra horns or some extra guitar in this part here, or an extra, the gang chorus on a certain thing. For sure. But I'm just saying the Stones make it more apparent that we need more guys on stage to make this sound like what sounds like they're honest. Our recordings have 70 tracks and some of those Beast of Burden. So we might as well bring all these guys on stage, because me and Ronnie Wood are not going to cut it there, Mick. So, again, the bigger the stage, the larger the stadium, the more they have to do to make themselves look like a gigantic big rock band. And that's going to incorporate more tracks, more lights, more people, more explosions, more screens, more fucking confetti, more shit I don't need. This is why Evil, if I had my druthers, I'm going to go right over here to the park next week and see Queensryche on a
Hmm.
stage. And other than some intros and maybe a click track, I would bet Todd
Right,
Latore and Whip are playing their instruments.
right,
Yeah.
yeah.
And there'll be about 1,000 people, not 20,000 people.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Well, so I
So
guess
that's it
Motley,
on the crew.
yeah,
Poor
and
Vince has lost a girlfriend, and
and
Nikki,
on
or
Dawn Acoustic.
yeah, and so since we're just going over, we'll bring up some news stories
All
now
right,
and talk about them first, and then we'll bring in a couple other subjects we want to talk about
all
here.
right.
One other thing I noticed in the news cycle lately, apparently 2 famous drummers got sacked. I don't know why everyone wants to get rid of their drummer lately, but Zach
Huh,
Starkey is definitely getting the heave ho by Raj and the Who, and
huh.
I guess Freeze lost the Foo Fighter
Oh
gig,
yeah, Foo
which that might be
Fighters.
the most epic fail of all time, pal. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I understand that they're probably going through some things with the death of the drummer, but that's the gig you don't want to lose. That's the gig that's going to make you some money. That's the gig that's going to keep you on tour for the next 10 years playing shows, I think. So that's how Freeze lost that one. I don't know. What did he do
Unless
wrong there? He
unless
fucked
maybe
somebody's
they're
girl?
bringing
What happened?
in the kid, the son of what's his face? I forget.
I did wonder that, but the way that they worded this, go read what he said and read what they said, and it
Hmm,
clearly sounds like there's some,
something.
I don't know, friction or lack of honesty going on there or whatever. And
Yeah.
it seems like if that was all they were doing, they'd be more like, hey, Freese, we're going to bring in Taylor's son. We hope you understand that. He's got the lineage and he knows how to play the kit. And, I think, but it sounded to me like there was something going on. It made me wonder, like when Richie Kotzen got the sack and poison, did he fuck somebody's wife and they found her or steal some money? Things, people act like these things don't happen, but let's break it. There is situations. Well, one that comes to mind. You got the poison. You got Richie Kotzen, I think, had some relations with Ricky Rocket's wife at the time. You got things like scorpions. People, don't mention why Herman Rarebell and who was the bass player? They left because Francis,
the accounting,
because Francis and his wife were running the merchandising, and there was money coming up short. And my guess is that the drummer and the bass player were looking at like, hey, we don't get the songwriting credits that Klaus and Rudolph get, so why don't we get the merch over here? Just saying, these things happen, and they don't come out and just go, well, they were stealing thousands of dollars of band merchandise, and so, well, maybe they did later, but at the time they made it look like it was just, But these things happen. Bands are, they're filled with human beings, and human beings are fallible. They fuck up, and when they're drunk or high and doing stupid shit. So how Freese lost the Foo Fighters gig, I don't know. But Freese, that wasn't a gig you wanted to lose because I don't think you're going to get that paycheck again.
Probably not. Yeah.
Sublime was not going to pay you that. I don't think a Perfect Circle or even when you were in GNR is paying what Foo Fighters could throw down every night. So. Yeah, the Foo's pretty big. So it's just interesting that all these drummers are getting the sack out of the blue. Another thing I noticed was Gene says that Ace and Pete can show up to Vegas, I guess on their own dime, pay their own ticket, and just show up. Which is funny to me. Like, Gene, do you really think that you saying that?
Well,
anyway, Pete's. I'm booking my flights tomorrow. Pete's on there now. He's coming. Gene, you can do it.
They said that for the end of the road tour, the farewell thing, right? Where they said, "Oh, any of the past members are welcome," and it's like, but they're not gonna do that.
At least you got to get them an airplane ticket, and give them a dressing room. Gene, do you think they're gonna show up on their own dime and sit in the front row and watch you play? Is that what you're thinking? So it's just funny to me the way they keep doing that, and he keeps acting like there's no money to be had. There's no way. With Kiss, all this money you guys have made that you can't come up with some hotels and a suite and maybe give the guy $5 or $10 to show up and play guitar and do, because that you and Paul are not coming for free. That's for sure, right?
You have to check out the Shout It Out Loud cast with Ed Trunk. It's the latest one because they get into this, and what is it? The Pop House, the guys that bought bought the catalog or whatever rights. There's an interesting theory there that these guys that they're basically having Gene and Paul do stuff periodically just to sell the catalog.
I wondered that. I was wondering if the Avatar did not get the interest they wanted and was going to take longer than expected to produce in the way that they would want it to be. Right. So then I thought, are they really going to disappear for 4 or 5 years and wait for that to pop up?
Right.
No. The people there's no way Doc McGee or Pop House or whoever owns the rights to the makeup and this likeness of Kiss is going to let that just simmer for 5 years and then come out with an Avatar. They're going to keep doing things and they're probably going to force G&P to get out there and be the face of it. It's just funny to me though, that you can't just say, hey dude, because here's the situation. Let's say G&P don't want to pay Ace and Pete. Okay. That's fine. They don't want that coming out of their cut. You telling me there's not a single sponsor or vendor or someone who would step up and say, I'll supply this, that, and the other to help Ace get here and do this. Bullshit. You just got to go find them. You got to go ask. Right. G&P don't want Ace and Pete there. That's the truth. They don't want equal original members sharing the stage with them. They want to be the king dicks of everything Kiss. This is, that's the way it's always been. That's why they will never have a true... even the reunion, as Ace said, was not going to be a true reunion when they got to the table business-wise. They were not ever going to do that. Ace and Pete had to agree to take less.
Hmm.
And that's just the truth. And Ace got a little more than Pete, but they still had to take less than an equal share. And, whether they needed the money, whether they were doing it for the fans, you can debate that, but they both agreed to it. But, long term, was that going to keep the band together? And Ace and Pete and or Gene and Paul knew that.
Hmm.
Doc McGee knew that. Doc McGee was prepping Tommy Thayer from day one to step into Ace's role. The second Ace was passed out or not in attendance. So
Right.
it's just funny to me again, though, that with all this, they're saying this is for the fans and this is the big thing, like the conventions used to be. We're all coming to Vegas, taking over a hotel. There's going to be performances. There's going to be this, but Ace and Pete, you got to buy your own airplane tickets and buy your own ticket to get in the front door. Even though you helped found the band, the band that we're doing this all for, right? So that's weird to me. It's because I just know in my heart of hearts, there's probably people out there, Eddie Trunk, other people, Mark Cicchini, other people. What's that guy that does that other thing? The Brun guy. These guys love to see Ace and Pete and these things. These people would find vendors, sponsors, in some way to get these guys paid an airplane ticket and a suite covered by somebody to go do this if they just fucking reached out. Instead, what it becomes is Doc McGee and Gene and Paul saying, how much do we get? Okay. And these are the rules. These guys, we don't really want them to be there.
Right.
So,
right.
That's just how I feel about it. And that's part of what, and I don't, to be honest with you, as Gene has proved with the vault, when he was going around with that little vault and jamming with Vinny and jamming with Ace and jamming with Pete. It's not Gene that has the problem with any of these guys showing up and making a few bucks and doing business. It's fucking me, Mr. Mustard. Straight and simple. Paul Stanley. Paul Stanley does not want nothing to do with any of this, any of these people. It's Paul's show. That's the way he runs it.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Well,
so that's another interesting tidbit. A couple other little notes I noted that I thought were weird. So Godsmack sacked their drummer Shannon Larkin a while back, and now he's playing with Snot. I don't even like Snot, but how did that work out? Like you went from Godsmack and probably making 10 grand a night or 20 grand a night or some ridiculous amount of money to Snot. Well, they giving you $250 in a sub sandwich.
Right.
I just don't even know. That was like, and then you would think if you're Shannon Larkin, if you're not playing drums for Godsmack, you think you would just go home with your money to your mansion in your car in Florida or wherever and put your feet up. But no, you're on some smaller stages with this other band. It seems so. There must be drama, right? There has to be. It couldn't be like these guys just walked away.
Yeah, it was almost like another one of those. They didn't want to do the ongoing amount of touring that they do. But
maybe that's the case. I don't know if Snot does more dates or less, but I don't even know Snot. I've heard the name. I can't think of a fucking tune.
Me neither.
Probably about how much so. Just think it was odd for a guy in Godsmack and formerly Ugly Kid Joe to go to Snot and say, well, let me back down to the club level and the bar level or whatever. It seems odd. So maybe he's just doing an appearance. I don't know. I didn't get too far into it. I just thought, well, that's a strange step down in pay grade and performance level. So other ones that I just brought up real quick, and probably most of the CMSers are not Jane's Addictions fan, but if I listen to alternative rock, I do like me some Janes, and it's kind of shitty that they're never going to be together again. Dave Navarro's put the complete after the physical fight with Perry, there will be never again a Jane's Addiction with him in the band. And the other one that I thought was interesting for them to say I think it just happened between last week's show and this one is old Ricky Rocket saying that the Poison's got the headlining tour offer, but they got waiting for Brett to sign on board. So seems awfully once again that the front man is in that band, the one deciding when and how and why. So
but he's the guy that's been out there doing the songs and kind of the face of the band, right? It kind of like we were just saying about Vince. And probably Tommy and Notley, but
I just don't think that his band is anywhere. I don't really like either one. I've seen Poison once in concert, maybe twice on a package or something, but once intentionally. And I'm not saying they're bad. I don't own the CDs. I don't get in my car and go, let me hit Unskinny Bop. That never happens. But I would say, like, if I was going to have an interest, it would only be with Poison. It wouldn't be with the Bret Michaels band. It would be.
Yeah.
Why would I? No. So if I'm going to bother to see this contraption, let's see the crazy guy on guitar and the girl on drums and the
Hmm.
dark-haired bass player over here probably looks like he used to be a bouncer at a strip club.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
I just think it's odd that, why would Brett sit there? I don't know if I want to do 30 headlining dates and make $4 million next year. What?
It's probably
Yeah,
about
so
splitting the money again.
that's what it boils down to, ladies and gentlemen. There is the music and then there's the business, and the business usually looms much larger than the music for most of these guys, because in the end, they're all. But again, Evil says at some point in time, does Brett Michaels has to have 10 million in the bank. So what do you like? You're not. It's
Hmm.
not like tomorrow the fucking house payment's not getting made, Brett. You can always do your solo band the next year, right? So
Yeah.
or the next 3 months after, because this whole headlining thing will only be 20 or 30 shows, maybe 40 shows if they really stretch it these days. So that leaves you 6 months out of the year, Brett, to go do whatever the hell you want. Why are you? Maybe he thinks he's going to tax the market with too much poison. I don't
Right.
think that's the case, but I
Yeah.
just thought it was odd that if you're being offered a headlining spot with some kind of a package thing like Ricky's claiming, why would you not just say, all right, let's do that for 30 days next year?
Right.
Make more money, which is, I mean, maybe he makes more money in the Brett. I can't imagine that. I can't in any way, shape, or form imagine that the guarantee for a Brett Michaels band, for he himself, what he takes home, is going to be larger than what Poison's going to draw on a stadium tour or even a headlining package tour in some sheds.
Right.
But maybe
Maybe. I don't
Brett's got more shit going on than I know. I don't. Again, I'm
Right.
not the guy buying the tickets or going to the thing. I just thought that was weird. It just seems to me you would probably, even if you, because it's been 3 or 4 years, right, since they did the stadium tour. So you've already gave him a
Yeah.
nice little chunk of time with no Poison. What's it going to hurt to run around for next summer and do some shit? So, yeah, interesting. Brett
Yeah.
Michaels band.
Yeah. I don't know. I wouldn't see that. I'd see Poison, but even then I'd be like, I'd have to think about it.
Well, my mind was, well, what was this package he's talking about?
Hmm.
They're headlining, but who's in the middle? Who's opening? That might be,
Hmm.
if you had Tom Kiefer in there and maybe somebody else in the front end, I might actually go, I might go see that.
Right.
But, who knows? In the end, it's just always interesting to me how certain frontmen, run the fucking show, even though,
Right.
in my opinion, they're equal to everybody else. I mean, if they wasn't, again, if you took Brett out of the bands and Brett's over here, you want to go, no, no, no. The only way I would go watch it is if CC and Bobby and them are all together. So I'm that guy. If I'm not owning your band's albums or ever, going out of my way to see you, and I'm gonna come see you, I want to see the original fucking dudes like everybody else. Who wants to see guys you don't know? I don't need to see, what was that guy's name that's always on Pete
Uh,
Pete Evick or whatever
yeah,
on
something
guitar.
like that. Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know no knock on him. I just
It
don't, that's
it
not
looks
what
like
I
he
would.
was just picking up your garbage.
It looks like he was the tech. He was the tech for CC.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then Brett was like,
Yeah.
hey, you know his parts, right? You can play. Okay, get over here and get on guitar.
Yeah. Yeah. Just watch that.
I think
Just watch that hair every now and again.
exactly. Don't do as much blow as CC.
Right.
You might be able to keep the gig, Pete. So those are the news notes for the week that I thought were odd and strange. The world of rock is always tossing and turning, and things are happening. So we have a couple other topics here we're going to bring up before we let you guys go today.
Yeah.
And first, well, I guess let's go over. If you have it, you have the project on hand. Let's just take a little look see at.
On time.